Welcome to Devoted to a Soldier Resource Panel, where the theme tonight is Veterans in Politics. We are missing Gordon, so hopefully he'll be able to pop on, but you never know. This is live, we go on time, and life happens for individuals. But with me is Mr. Corey Strong. How are you tonight?
I'm doing great. I cannot complain. It is an interesting time in the world today, and obviously there's a lot of people that are hurting from different things. But I'm blessed to be able to talk about things that are important, and as a veteran to be able to talk about service. And so that's super important. I'm glad to be able to talk about it and be on with you. So thanks for an invite.
Yes, you are so welcome. And this is what's great about the world of social media. I say there's always good and there's bad in anything and anybody, right? And one of the great things about social media is that you can use it for good. So a friend of a friend, and here we are today. We're doing this, and you're gonna bring a lot of value. And Brian says hello from Utah. So hey, Brian out there.
How's it going, Brian?
So Corey, tell everybody a little bit about who you are before we get right into it.
So I am a Memphis resident, a Navy veteran, and I say veteran, but I'm actually still a drilling reservist. So I did 8 years on active duty after I finished the Naval Academy, and I am now a commander of the Navy Reserves. So I command a unit out of Atlanta. We support littoral combat ship, and so have been blessed to have a long 17-year career so far, and I plan on keeping it going forward. Live in Memphis. I work for our local school district here, doing basically, kind of project management and strategic planning for our district. So these are kind of long-term plans, and anything that deals with like major areas, cross-functional work, they kind of throw me at it and say, hey, help us get it done. And we have one of the 25 largest school districts in the country. And so a lot of work to keep 100,000 kids educated, particularly during this time. And also I'm running for Congress. I'm running for Congress here in Tennessee's 9th district, which is most of the city of Memphis, as well as part of a rural area, Millington. Maybe people will know Millington because Millington is where we have our personnel command. And so so that's part of the district. I've been involved in Democratic Party politics here in Memphis, and everything that I've tried to do is make sure that I represent the interest of the everyday person, and that I use my experience overseas as well as my experience in the military serving our country to the best of my ability here at home, and come up with solutions that make sense and support people.
So yeah. I love it. Well, a couple things, because there's some people looking for Gordy. Yeah, I'm looking for Gordy too. I just talked to him, but he's not on. So maybe he's having Wi-Fi difficulties. If someone's close to him and wants to help him, all for it, because we would love for him to join us. But back to you, Corey. I would not want that job of educating all of those children.
Yeah, I mean, it can be challenging. I can't say I'm in the classroom every day. But what I can say though is you'd be amazed at the type of sorry about that. You'd be amazed at like the what changes you can see in children's lives,
right,
when they're really given an opportunity. And I think education is that path. But in addition to that, I mean, there are a lot of families and communities that really need thoughtful and engaged and empathetic people working in education. I'll give an example. So obviously we know we're doing remote learning right now, and that's super important. Well, one thing we found out is the access to not only devices but also broadband is obviously not evenly split, and in some areas, to include Memphis and Shelby County, upwards of 40% of our kids have not engaged with learning simply because of a lack of access to broadband or a computer. And so it's on us to use the resources to the best of our ability to make sure that kind of those inequities that exist don't prevent children and families from pursuing an education, right? And so those are tough decisions, but we're doing everything we can, and we've made some financial commitments next year to make sure that people have both computers and broadband access.
Right.
So yeah,
Right.
so it's
So
huge.
you've got it on all ends. Jonathan's in Washington. I want to say hi to Jonathan. And Justin said Corey sings a great national anthem and has a good Murph time. And we will get to that at the end because we've got some business to attend to
Sounds
first.
like a plan. Justin's always
Oh,
on me.
yeah. People are watching, telling you secrets. But let's get into it. So I want to talk about the VA system. So my son is a Marine veteran, and so I have had to deal with my dealings with the VA. And sometimes people have great experiences, and sometimes they've had not so great experience. And I'm on this end with my son on the not so great. But so here you have this massive organization run by the government.
Right.
I feel like, yeah, it's underfunded, but throw money at a problem that has a complete disorder in their ability to, I don't know, run as a business really and give
Sure.
treatment for people, and actually like unconventional treatment too, that is being proven to be so more helpful. So like, talk to me about that. Like, what do you think? What do you see as going to make a change?
So yeah, that's actually one of the reasons that I'm running here in Memphis. Up until 2019, the VA system was ranked on a star system. So 1 star, not great; 5 star, outstanding. Right. From 2016 to 2019, the VA in Memphis was a 1 star and was noted as one of the worst 3 or 4 VAs in the country. Right. And so some of the horror stories for treatment here, and that's not just 1 or 2 people, that's in mass, were pretty significant. And I think that, my opponent, Steve Cohen, could have done more and should do more. One of the things that I think is a travesty, and it's something that we really have to grasp, is when it comes to being an instrument of our national policy, we have no problem funding the military to get political things done, right?
Mm-hmm.
But then when it comes to using politics to then serve those people who have been an instrument of policy and have sacrificed, somehow politics gets in the way. Like, politics never gets in the way of us going over to fight, right? It always gets in the way when it comes to taking care of people. And I liken it to what just happened recently with the 9/11 fund that they finally funded into perpetuity. Like, there should be no question that people that sacrifice their lives on that day should be funded. And I think the same thing is the case for the military. But I also think the types of trauma and the types of situation that you put people in are very, very unique, right? In World War II, there was a number of things that people dealt with. Fast forward to Vietnam, you had Agent Orange. You look at OEF and OIF, the issue of burn pits, right? Like, there are all these issues that are very, very, very unique to the military that require the appropriate amount of study and ways to rehabilitate and treat. And unfortunately, it's easier to sweep under the rug than to actually address it directly. That happens a lot. And another thing too is the mental health issue. Across society, we just don't treat mental health the way we should, right? We don't treat it like your brain is injured, can be injured just like any other part of your body, and the impacts of that are very different. But the mental health issue is very, very significant and severe. And it's clear that veterans have an issue with mental health more than other parts of the population. We know the ramifications of that, whether it be homelessness, whether it be violence, whether it be some other physiological issue with sleep deprivation or depression or whatever. Mm-hmm. And we have to address it head on, right? And one thing I think in the active duty military is doing a good job of is we're starting to address it. So when soldiers and sailors and Marines, airmen go overseas, when they come back, we address the mental health issue. But the VA system has not met what we're doing on active duty to make sure that we're addressing mental health in a real way.
Yeah, I even think, like, I want to touch on that. So I'm in this small, a very close-knit military mom group. There's like 12 of us. We're all from New Hampshire. All of our kids we met each other. They were all going through boot camp. So we've been close for all of these years. Sure. You talk about, like, you guys are brothers and sisters. Well, the moms are the exact same way.
Moms, wives, everything. You guys serve just like us. So yeah, definitely.
Was it in April? It was in April. So there's 12 of us. In April, there were 5 active duty suicides from not in our group, but like their friends that they were serving with. Right, so I still think that suicide is becoming the number one go-to across the nation. And it hits home a lot, I believe, personally, with the military and veterans, just because you move at such a fast pace. You live multiple lives within your one life.
No, you're right.
Hold on, we're going to add him in. Hey there, buddy.
Hey, sorry I'm late. Many apologies. Many apologies.
That's okay. Better late than never. We're talking about the VA, and just to catch you up a little bit, and we were talking about, like, you know, it's a broken system, so throwing more money at a broken system isn't necessarily the answer. And then we were talking about suicide and things like that with it within active duty and also the veteran community. So I've caught you up to speed of what it was, and we were talking about the thoughts, you know, your thoughts on changing this system. And, you know, Corey was speaking about it, and, you know, I'll give you an opportunity to talk on that, Gordon.
If I understood about the VA being a broken system.
Yes, VA being a broken system, which leads to not reaching out. And what are some ideas to fix this? I
think that's a very polite way to put it. Yes.
I'm being polite. I can be polite.
Unfortunately, yeah.
Unfortunately, it is a dinosaur. It was spun up with good intentions and goodwill behind it, and it served well veterans, I think, in the past. But they just are not equipped for the complex injuries of today's battlefield. They just do not have the qualified doctors and the specialists that are needed for the injuries our soldiers are receiving today. They're just not prepared for the influx of new casualties, severely injured soldiers that we've seen over the past decade, over the past 2 decades. Sadly, the facilities are falling apart. The doctors don't have the qualifications they need. There's many hardworking VA employees, and I in no way mean to slam anyone that's working and doing their best and to take care of our veterans. But sadly, the VA hierarchy itself is failing to admit and even recognize where the broken pieces are, and throw the money in the right places. But in my opinion, yes, it is antiquated. The answer is definitely sending our soldiers out on the economy, especially in rural areas. They just don't have access to facilities in the big cities. And with the major contributions the National Guard and Reserves have made in wars in Iraq and Afghanistan and around the world, mostly these units and kids are coming from rural areas, and when they get busted and broken, they just cannot get to a facility in a major city for help, and they're being left alone and forgotten.
Yeah. Do you think, you know, like, because Corey's running for Congress, do you think it would ever get to a point or be able for it to go back into the economy? You know, when I feel like we take it out of the government, we put it into the economy, things change. You get better care. There's competition. There's free market. You know, people can go wherever they want to go depending on what their needs are. And especially with these, you know, unconditional therapies. I know when I had my brain damage, now I wasn't at war, but I was, you know, ended up sideways in a tree with the engine in my passenger seat. My brain got really jumbled up. And conventional, for me, they just here's some drugs. Be high your whole life, Danielle, and you'll be fine, because we don't know how to deal with it. And fortunately, I was able to go and do unconventional medicine to help. And I feel like that would be makes such a difference for our soldiers.
the VA, unfortunately, in my opinion, is making a lot of our young men and women drug addicts.
Yeah.
They just push pills. As I've been across the country talking, speaking with soldiers, speaking at uh, different events, I would ask soldiers that went to the VA to being diagnosed with PTSD and learned that everyone being diagnosed with PTSD was receiving the same five medications in the same five doses, whether they were 5'2" and 110 pounds or 6'8" and 320.
Mm-hmm.
How can that work? It can.
Right.
And these five medications, you can go to the manufacturer's websites and they will tell you right on them, do not take for a period of longer than 3 weeks. Some of our soldiers have been on them for years and years and years. They just get them sent in the mail. They never see a doctor for follow up. Hey, how's that medicine working? Hey, are you getting sleep? Hey,
Right.
it just goes in the mail and you're told to take it. And if you don't, by damn look out, they may just they'll threaten you with your benefits. They'll threaten you.
So,
Just like so many of our soldiers not going to the VA to get help because
yeah.
they're scared to death they'll lose their Second Amendment rights.
Right. I want to go into that, Gordon, after I hear what Corey has to say. Is like, how do you plan on making that change?
And
Or,
so And so one of the things, as I ran, as I've been running and talked to kind of veterans organizations that support people that are running for office, a lot of people don't know, although we are still in the midst of the longest war we've ever been in our country, and something that Gordon mentioned I think is true, because reserves and National Guard units have taken some of the strain of fighting a war on two fronts for so long. The effect of this has spread beyond active duty into civilian sectors because these are civilian soldiers, right? So, I go have a job every day, I go away for a year, and then I come back to my regular job. And so it's put us more into society. And so, the impact of that is it has raised the number of people that the VA needs to serve. In the alternative, however, although all that's the case and there's more people serving, veteran representation in Congress is an all-time low, right? Only 17% of Congress is currently a veteran of any war, right? I think that reality, and particularly when you look at a lot of the veterans in Congress, there's a minimal amount of them that were OEF or OIF as proportion-wise, right? The majority of them were from some period before OEF and OIF, right? So they don't know the realities of war today. They don't know the realities of the citizen, soldier, or reservist. And so, as a congressman, and I understand the desire to put things kind of in the private sector, I still feel it's a responsibility of this country to create and run a system that serves the people that it sent overseas to protect that flag and to fight for our national objectives, right? And so that responsibility, and I'm not saying that there can't be other things, but I think there can be a symbiotic relationship. And one of the things I've seen, when I was in San Diego, I used to laugh at a young lady. She just got off active duty. She was really big in the yoga, and she's like, "I'm doing yoga with people that have PTSD." Little do I know that ends up becoming an actual successful way of treating it. The same thing with the service dogs. There's any number like goat yoga. Like there's all kind of things that allow people that mental release and allow them a coping mechanism, and a healthy coping mechanism they can sustain that doesn't involve drugs. And what I would say is there has to be a push from members of Congress who have experienced it and who will fight for it every day to push that forward, a VA system forward, to be able to say, hey, we have to open up the aperture and look at other treatments, or else we're going to fail a generation or two of veterans, right? And so I think Oberg is great, but I think we need to bring those ideas into our system. You're right, it's an antiquated system, but I will never take the responsibility off of our government to take care of the people that served it so valiantly.
mm-hmm.
Amen. I'm with you, Corey. And a couple of things that I'd like to add my testimony to what you are saying is there are some wonderful VA facilities
Yeah,
out there. Don't get me
sure,
wrong.
sure.
There are some that are light years ahead of others. There's just so many. The VA don't even know how many facilities they have. but I mean,
I'm sure they do, but
they've got property they don't even know they have. But there truly are some great VAs that I've been treated at personally, and that I've seen when I visit soldiers in them. That's one thing I do wherever I go is stop at a VA and visit soldiers.
awesome.
And one thing that you mentioned, the yoga. I am a firm believer that there are so many alternative therapies that
Sure.
need to be integrated into our Western medicine. There's cupping, there's massage therapy, there's acupuncture, there's, like you said, yoga. All these things that are proving to be so great. They're hyperbaric oxygen chamber treatments are proving to are curing PTSD soldiers from the Vietnam War 40 years ago.
And to
And
go a
these
step further, if the VA actually leveraged this to bring those alternative treatments in and studied it in a way that could actually have impacts on the broader medical community, because we've seen the number of medical treatments that have been engineered by, financing of the federal government, right? And so, like, if it's done properly, if it's done for the right reasons, if it's done for service of the country, it can be leveraged in a way that could have impacts in other places. And I've seen it. I've talked to people on multiple occasions, and you've even seen the way this happens on active duty, the service animals, right? So I've seen multiple chaplains that are now, when there's a traumatic event, will go places with a service animal. The chaplain will go talk to soldiers or go talk after something traumatic. It happened once where we had a sailor pass away on the way to reserve duty. So the next reserve weekend, the chaplain came in with a service dog, and just that effect on human beings to have another being around that's calm, like, that's a real thing. And so if we studied it, not only could it have impact for veterans, it could have a broader impact on the medical community of saying, hey, these studies show these things work, and this is something that we should consider and offer as a treatment.
Yeah,
It's so true.
definitely.
It's so true. And I love what you said about impact on our communities, because the divorce rate with our military families is astronomical. It's sad.
True.
And that impact that that's having on the kids that are going to grow up to be our future leaders, that impact that it's having on veteran community relationships, the the domestic violence issues because of soldiers not getting help. Yeah,
Started on that one.
everybody can be helped. Yeah, a positive effect all the way around. And I agree with you, Corey and Danny.
I want to talk about, because I see this, there's so many in society today, like labeling. Like, I wouldn't let my son be labeled as having, any kind of disorders in school, like OCD and things like that. I said, I will help you with the resources, but I'm not going to label him, because now all of a sudden, just because he doesn't learn a certain way, he's brilliant. He's a brilliant kid. He just learned different. So we have this philosophy in society of throwing a label at somebody, but then to give them the treatment that they need or the help that they need. But the ramifications of that label goes so much farther and deeper than just that moment. So, like, Gordy, you kind of said a little bit earlier about a lot of veterans, they'll hold back from even going because they don't want their Second Amendment right taken away. And so here's this ripple effect, because again, yes, people get labeled to make it easy so that whatever the situation is can get money to treat them, but then they're ripped away, or getting life insurance, as a matter of fact. You put that label on and all of a sudden a veteran, it is so hard. You don't know how hard I work to get veterans life insurance after they've served our country. And people are like, no, because you have PTSD.
And there's so many myths and so much disinformation out there that I think dialogues like this can just, the more we can talk and dispel the myths and get our veterans the help they need and get rid of the labels and the stigma, but we will, in leaps and bounds in such a short period of time, correct some of these issues.
But it starts with we've got to get into the politics of it. We have to get veterans stepping up in a way because they understand, like Corey said, nobody, like I will never understand what it's like to be a veteran. I cannot, I'm not one. I understand to be a mom.
That Second Amendment issue alone has scared so many of our soldiers that need help from going to even register with the VA. Soldiers that could get the help they needed and get back to functioning well in society and well on their own, and quit self-medicating with alcohol or drugs. And that's just so important. There's a Second Amendment right bill right now. I think it's House Bill 3836, coming out of Tennessee. David Rowe of Tennessee, I think, is the sponsor of that bill.
Do you know him, Corey? Because you're in Tennessee.
But it's
other side of the state. Other side of the state.
Like that and that legislation, it basically just says, from what I understand, says that the VA will be prohibited from disclosing a soldier's health records or PTSD diagnosis to other agencies, which basically would give the soldier comfort or a feeling of safety that, hey, maybe now I can go to the VA and not lose my ability.
I want to broaden out from that because I think I do think there are a lot of people that are concerned about taking the Second Amendment rights away. I understand that concern. I think that cuts both ways, right? I have definitely seen people that have refused it for that reason. I think there are people that are refused it simply because they don't actually believe they're going to get the treatment they need, right? And so that's one of, or that's potentially an excuse, but they just don't believe they're going to get the treatment. And so, it's like when I'm calling people for fundraising and they're like, oh, my kid's sick, or oh, coronavirus, or oh, and I was talking to the guy I'm working with, he's like, oh, that means they just don't want to give you money. Like they're just coming up with excuses, right? And so I think veterans will kind of use it sometimes. I will say, unfortunately, I've seen that cut the wrong way. I've seen veterans that are afraid of losing their Second Amendment rights, and then they've done things where they probably shouldn't have had a weapon, right? And so I think the ultimate thing is,
That's true.
We have to, veterans have to know that they're going to get the medical treatment they need, whether it's physical health or mental health, and so frequently that is not the case. And so until they have that, like that confidence and that faith that that's what's going to happen, we're going to continue to have people opt in and out of the VA system, and it's never going to be as effective as it can until we prove to them, hey, when you come back, your country is going to take care of you. I just don't want to see, I don't want people afraid of, the constitutional rights to be taken, but I also don't want to see, what can happen when it doesn't. And I've seen that with my own eyes, what can happen when that doesn't. And so on both sides of the coin, the responsibility sits on us to make sure that veterans are taken care of.
Yeah, well, it's the snowball effect.
Yeah.
The reason why suicide by firearms is so high is because people they don't want to give it up, but then they don't get the help, and so it's this.
They need that. Yes.
At the time, this like suicide prevention, counseling. Every statistic somewhere in this brain of mine when I went through all of those courses. So if there was a guarantee, like it is, you have to. They have to know that they're going to get the proper treatment, not just brushed under the rug with drugs and things like that. Get the treatment that suits them, because you know what? Yoga doesn't suit me and it might not suit you, but it's going to suit somebody else, right? Sure. That broader band, the guarantee that your amendment, no matter what label you have, is not, your constitutional rights aren't going to be, taken away from you. And then they'll give them away. They'll be like, put this gun away till I'm in a better place, because they have that security system. So it goes back is, what is a step we can do as the community right now?
Well, one thing I do want to make sure is we have to get, I tell veterans wherever I go, we have a responsibility too. We can't just expect. The VA is not going to correct itself. Government's not going to correct the VA. The community really doesn't understand. As veterans, when we go to a VA facility, there's not anywhere you can go in that hospital or clinic where there's not a suggestion card. And I tell our veterans, these are our hospitals. If we want to make them better, it's a grab a card. They're not just cards to say audiology sucks, optometry sucks. What that doesn't help nobody. I guarantee the director of every facility reads every one of those cards. And if you can't put something negative down without a solution, you shouldn't fill it out. But by the same token, I tell everybody those cards can be used to write down the name of an individual that working there treated you right. Write down the name of a department in the hospital or clinic
Positive and negative.
that's doing a great job. Because if we put the emphasis on the things that are going well, those things will get better and blossom. We do have a responsibility as veterans to do our best to make our facilities better. And with just 3% of the population serving in the military, there's such a disconnect. There's so many people that don't even realize that the mission we still have in the world. We need to do a little bit better job interacting with the community. And one way to do that is more veterans need to join some of these veterans organizations, get out, clean up the communities, get up, help our youth, support baseball programs, after school programs, be the mentors for the youth that need a good male mentor in their life. Those are things we can do to help interact in the community and bring awareness to ourselves and help ourselves.
I love that. Corey, put your 2 cents on what we can do.
And briefly, so the last point, I think you're great. The comment cards are great. Like any business, you want to see you do better, you let them know, you give them feedback, and I think the VA is no different. But I think some of it is going to take more. And Danielle, you're asking for concrete steps, and I think, those concrete steps sometimes are going to require lobbying, right? And so I'm not going to propose a solution one way or the other because, there's got to be a deep dive on the VA. But at the end of the day, lobbying is important. And you can say what you want to say about the protests that are going in the street. Obviously, I'm in support of them because they impact our community. But the power of youth and young people to stand up and say, hey, this matters in their voice. And so there are a lot of young veterans out here right now that are not affiliated with a VFW. They're not affiliated with what's the other? They're American Legion. They're not affiliated with these organizations, right? And so I'll raise my hand. And so you mentioned Justin earlier. He hopped on. Justin's doing an amazing job in Shelby County. Shelby County has the largest amount of veterans in the state of Tennessee. But a lot of those veterans, particularly the younger veterans, are not affiliated with VFW or not affiliated with American Legion, or not active in a way where they can lobby and say, hey, we need you to serve us as well, right? We need that. We need our government to take care of protecting us, right? And so
when we lose numbers in those organizations, we are losing
your voice
in Congress.
Yep, you're absolutely right.
We used to go to Congress and say, we've got a veterans organization with this many million people, and now we're going to Congress with, hey, we're a veterans organization with 10,000 people, and hey, go away. I've got this other group with 50,000 people I'm going to listen to first. So we're hurting ourselves as veterans by not belonging to something and not staying in touch with congressmen like you, Corey, that can keep us educated on what's going on and who's doing the good things for us that we should be getting behind and voting for, and keep looking out for us like you all.
Right. And that's my commitment here, is to bring people my age, right? The people, 40 and under who are not affiliated into it. Justin, got my attention and said, hey, Corey, what are you doing? And so I didn't join his post. I joined another post that's in need, that really needs younger people to be involved. And I've given them my commitment. No matter what happens with this election, I'm going to bring people my age. And we've already I've started connecting with some Navy guys that I know live here. And so we're going to bring those people back, because It gives a louder voice and specific voice to the issues that we're dealing now. The issue dealing with a 65-year-old veteran and a 35-year-old veteran are very different, right? And
Yes,
so you need a voice for both of those things to Congress. And so that's my commitment personally. But getting this new group of veterans in and say, hey, here are the issues that we need, and advocating is super important. And so I'm going to do my part.
You're so on the right path, Corey.
Because I think you'll have this answer. So Brian was asking what veteran organization is like that, not the VFW or the American Legion, but they are supporting going to Congress with the voice, the VFW.
No, they are. I'm simply
VFW,
saying the age of the
Legion.
people that are going.
No,
generally.
Brian was asking that question.
I'll make sure I understand the question. Ask again.
So Brian asked the question, what veteran organization is like that? Not the VFW or the AIL. So I'm assuming he's talking about the lobbying and going to Congress, but the VFW, that is their job.
Yeah, that's what they do. Yep, absolutely. That's exactly what they do.
The problem is they're just lacking the weight of the numbers that they used to have. Right. Because, like Corey said, the younger soldiers, not only are they not going to the VAs, but they're not joining veterans organizations, whether it's the American Legion, whether it's the VFW, Military Order of the Purple Heart, Disabled American Veterans. Join something. I tell everybody, join something.
Yeah,
Brian, I don't care if you go to a meeting, join something, be a number, because when those national commanders, when the state commanders get together and the national commanders get together and go to Congress with ideas for legislation to help our veterans, the more numbers they have behind it, the more, if they can have a membership 10 million strong,
they got to listen. Yep.
Somebody's going to listen. Or
yeah,
if you have a membership 10,000 strong, they'll say, okay, yeah, leave your paperwork with the staff out front.
Right. What Brian and Dee Dee are saying is the perception is, and the majority of it's just a bar. And I feel, and I had a resource panel on this a couple months ago, and Corey, because Brian was on that, that's where that younger generation has got to come in and create that, because that is the perception. And sometimes that is the reality, that it is just a bar, but that's not the purpose of the VFW.
No, and I'll go a step further to say, and I'll put some pressure on some of the older veterans, right? There's a way of doing business that existed, for the, past 20, 30 years. We're in a new day and age, right? And so being digital, being online, being technically savvy, and being willing to change the way you operate in such a way where younger people will want to be involved. And what I would say is, if it's not just going down a list and making a phone call. That might not work the same way it worked, where I can go on social media today and touch a lot of veterans in a way that people can't. And so there has to be kind of a meeting of the minds of saying, if we're going to get this younger generation in, we're going to have to do some new things. And the VFW just joined, they're going to renovate. And I've already talked to the post commander and said, hey, when we renovate this place, and it was a great gift from the Elvis Presley Foundation here. They love veterans, and so they're going to help renovate the VFW building that's really dilapidated. But I said, when y'all redo this, I need to be involved in what that looks like, because this needs to be a place that, if I'm 25 and I just came home from my one tour overseas, that I would want to be, right? It's got to be one for both. Both need to be a place that both people want to be. And so it can't look like an old elk lodge, because at the end of the day, 25-year-olds not going to want to be in there. So it's got to be a little bit of both. And we need to make it in such that there is right. And so, and if we do that, that'll make it attractive to where people want to participate. And the activities also need to meet all age groups, right? There might be a march and a walk down to a state capitol in DC, and there might be a Call of Duty night on the internet, or there might be a silky backpack run that they do, like they're doing in Memphis here, and they go run around. Like there have to be the types of activities that younger people want to participate in. And if you do that, your numbers will swell, and that's one of the things I hope to bring here. And some veterans here that are already doing it, that way ahead of me in doing it, have influenced me, and I'm saying, I can do the same things they're doing.
I've definitely seen posts in the communities where they're active, where they're truly active, where they truly do more than just have a one meeting night a month. They're out in the community. They're doing ball games. They're going to schools, mentoring at schools, doing programs. They're doing something every day. Cleanup projects, helping helping the home, helping. They're doing more than just riding on the old folks' float in the parade one time a year.
Yeah, yeah.
Right.
And that's what we need to. And I agree with you, Corey, that those posts that are active uh, are pulling in the young people, and they feel like they're belonging. They feel like they're integrating. They feel like they're doing good things, and they've got strong community ties, and those posts are working. And the posts that have some dinosaur leadership that just don't want to see new
They just need a
ways.
little help. They just need a little
It
help.
can't
That's all.
be,
They
it
just need a
can't just
little
be a
young.
watering hole for the old folks.
They just need a little youth. That's all.
Yeah.
You know what I'm hearing from both of you, whether it's the VA or it's the VFW that we're talking about, it's you guys you served so much, you took so much ownership, and then somewhere along the line it got taken away, either from your own trauma or the own stuff trying to reintegrate into society, and you forgot the power that you have inside you. You know, veterans are, man, they are the backbone. They're of this nation, and I believe that. So if we can work as a community together, instead of saying back, nobody's going to take care of you. You know, remember that you got to step up politically. And even through those organizations, that's a way in. Maybe you're not going to run for Congress, but you can do some other things that will lead.
The more we take care of ourselves, the more we get vocal, the more we get involved within our communities, the more we show the love. We're not only going to help ourselves,
Yeah.
we're going to be an integral part of our communities. Patriotism will spike in our communities where we do that, and that's not going to do anything but create a wave of patriotic love that could wash across the country that everybody needs right now.
Right. Don't accept no and lead with love is my last 2 cents. I want to leave you both with your 2 cents that you can say to the community that is on your heart. So Corey, this is your time, and then Gordon will be after Corey.
And so I'd like to thank you for bringing me on. And again, you know, I'm running for Congress here in Tennessee. And so if you're interested in supporting our campaign, go to the website, the901strong.com. So the area code of Memphis is 901. So the901strong.com. And so I appreciate this opportunity to talk about veterans issue because it's really, really close to my heart. I continue to see, you know, the sailors that serve for me now, you know, that are doing amazing things in their communities, you know, nurses on the front line of COVID and first responders. And like, they're doing the same thing at home that they do for the military. And so it's a blessing to be able to do this. But again, you know, I'm going to fight, you know, to my dying day to make sure that those people that have sacrificed this nation, that this nation repays its debt.
Mm-hmm.
Corey, I'm so proud of you for taking that torch forward. Running for any office of any kind is my hat's off. My hat's off to anybody. Boy, I wish I could vote for you and put a sign in my yard with your name on it, and be there to make sure that you get to where you need to be, because our veterans need you, and those like you that understand the issues and will help us all not only heal ourselves but help heal some of our communities, help heal so many things, and just spread the love. I'm honored to know you, Corey.
Same here. Thank you.
My vote.
Yeah. Well, I hope Corey and Gordon, please go in and respond, because there's a lot more questions that are coming up. People asking how do you even start running and things like that. So if you can go in and answer them, I will be on here another 5 hours if I let you talk. So I have to close out. But thank you, Corey, and thank you, Gordon, for sharing.
You rock, Danny. Thank you for having us on, and thank you for bringing these issues to the forefront. We love you.
Oh, and I love you too. You guys have a fantastic night. And for everybody out there watching, thank you. And I hope you join our table.
Thank you. Good night, Corey. Thank you.
Hey, thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
Bye.
Appreciate y'all. Bye-bye.